You certainly don't want to be that guy, right? Stuck in the middle of nowhere with nothing, or stuck in an urban environment with nothing. Either one can have the same kind of threats. So we're going to talk about vehicle bolt bags or go bags. This is a bag that has, at a minimum, life support items to get you through 24 to 72 hours. But before we talk about the bag itself, let's talk about an easy acronym that I learned doing a British surveillance course called POWER. And as students, we were responsible for powering our vehicles every day before we went mobile. So P-O-W-E-R. P is petrol. Here in the United States, we refer to it as gas or fuel, but you want to make sure you have at least a half a tank or more before you start your day's activities. O, oil. Number one, if you have an older make model vehicle, then you want to actually get under the hood, pull the dipstick out, and make sure that you've got enough oil that's between the minimum and maximum at the tip. Put it back in, make sure it's seated properly. Also, check where you park each day. Look at the ground, make sure there's no leaks. And it doesn't hurt to carry a liter of oil in your trunk just in case. With newer cars, obviously, you still need to check it, but motors are sealed far better these days than they used to be. But if you're overseas with a rental car, don't trust a rental agency to make sure your car is good to go. That's on you. All right, W. W is water. So water for you, water for the vehicle. Water for you, I suggest at least a gallon. You can keep it in the back, you can keep it wherever. It can be broken up into water bottles, which is what I do. And then water for the vehicle. Check the radiator. Only check it when it's cold. Do not try to open up that cap while it's hot. And then, of course, fluids for your windshield wipers as well. So you've got water in all the places you need it, and then you're good to go. E, electronics, okay? That's looking at your instrument panel, making sure you have no warning lights and ensuring all gauges work properly. Also making sure you have a power cable for your cell phone, that your cell phone works properly, and that any GPSs that are built into the vehicle or the ones that you carry on the side, make sure those are good to go as well. And then finally, R, rubber. Make sure that the rubber on your windshield wipers is good and actually works. Make sure the rubber on your tires are good to go. That's looking for any steel that might be exposed, making sure you got plenty of tread, and ensuring that your tires are inflated properly. And then the last place for rubber is under the hood, making sure all those hoses are fresh and flexible and that there is no dry rot. Once again, if it's a rental car or you have a vehicle in another country, you got to make sure that you power your vehicle each day. P-O-W-E-R. All right. Now that your vehicle is good to go and you're limiting the possibilities of something going wrong with your car, now you're left to the environment, which could be natural disaster, or it could be a flat tire in the middle of nowhere, or it could be something more sinister like a bad guy in any environment. And we want to make sure that you have the items, at a minimum, life support items that can keep you safe. But before we get there, where do you keep these things? I like to keep a go bag, reasonable size, in either glove compartment, my center console. You can strap it to your passenger seat or your driver's seat, or you can put it in the trunk, but the trunk being the last option. I like it within arm's reach. I want to be able to get to it just in case. And worst case scenario would be you're flipped upside down in your vehicle. You need to be able to grab this thing and crawl out. So ideally, it's in a compartment because you don't want it to become a projectile. All right, so now the things that we carry. I want to note, I look at go bags as a consumable item, meaning everything in it isn't the most expensive, because if I'm leaving it in my car all the time and my car gets broken into, well, it gets stolen, it's not a huge loss to me. So look at it as, hey, these are one-time use items, and that I'm just gonna maintain them. I'm gonna make sure that my kits are good to go at least once a month, ensuring everything's operational, batteries are good, and everything's still there. And if it gets stolen, you know it's not huge heartburn, you can replace everything. So, keeping that in mind, let's look at what I carry. Here's the bag. It's a basic go bag. It's a simple cross chest. It's got 3 main pockets. This one's unique in the fact that you can run your power through and out to this USB port, so you can charge any of your rechargeable devices with you, all right? So a nice small bag. It doesn't need to be anything exotic. First, power. You know, there's lots of rechargeable power devices out there these days. This thing charges up, and I think it can recharge like 8 mobile devices. Extra communications. Once again, we're talking about life support. If your phone gets tossed in the car accident or ends up outside the vehicle, or you lose it, whatever, having a backup. Now, it doesn't have to be a smartphone as a backup, because that could get pricey, but it could be a flip phone, a track phone, or something where you buy the SIM cards, prepaid minutes, and works just as great. You only basically use it in case of emergencies. All right, now the kits themselves, all right? We talked about having water, and then obviously a little bit of food. A little bit of food can be protein, bars, whatever you want, MRE. You can make these things as big as you want. I like to keep it all small. I'm more of a minimalist. Be resourceful, you know, and be self-reliant, you know, based on education. So a little bit of protein to keep me going. Of course, all the water that I already have in my vehicle. So I've got 3 kits here, broken down into rural, urban, medical events. And it just has the basics to help you out if you find yourself in the middle of nowhere. One, it has a solar blanket, keep you warm at night, or it can be used to get attention. It's very reflective and huge, so you can put it out. It can get aircraft's attention, it can get people's attention, you name it, but also keep you warm at night. Another source of light is always good, but also works for signaling, okay? Then you have a wire saw, you have a whistle. Once again, a whistle comes in handy. It's far better than your voice, and if it's a cold environment, you want to be whistling, not yelling, because you want to keep all that heat inside. Of course, a compass. Now, yeah, our primary is GPSs and our phones, and if we've got the backup battery, then we should be okay if we have a signal, but if we don't, or technology fails, or you drop it and break it, you've got your basic backup, okay? And then a multi-tool of some sort. This little guy also has a flashlight on it, pliers, knife, everything you need. And then back up to the backup, you need to stay warm, you're gonna start a fire. So, you know, a fire starter of some sort. Next, urban. Find yourself in an urban environment. Now we're talking about probably man-made threats. So, along with the gun that you have on you or in your go bag, ideally your gun is on you at all times, you have some other items that can support you. Once again, a bigger tactical light that can be used to signal or find your way through the darkness. Another backup LED, you can't have enough. Another whistle, this one same as the other. Use your voice. If it's a natural disaster and you're underneath rubble, the whistle is going to get those rescue dogs' attentions long before you're yelling and screaming. Another backup compass. Obviously in the urban kit, this one's a little smaller because it's meant to be tied to your jacket or whatever you're wearing for the day. A handcuff key. This can come in handy considering handcuffs are becoming more and more popular with bad guys. This one's concealable. It's got both to where you can unlock and the double lock feature. A backup knife. This is just a simple folder. Once again, this stuff isn't expensive. It's a tactical pen. One, it can be used as a weapon, but it can also be used to leave notes behind if you're on the move. You know, another form of fire, heat, signal, light. All in one, keeping it simple and realistic. Now we've got medical. All right, the biggest piece of medical is stopping the bleeding. All right, and maintaining an airway. So in this particular kit, it has an Israeli dressing. These can be used for direct pressure dressings. It can also be used as a tourniquet. It's all in one, and it can be used as an ace bandage for sprains or any other kind of joint injuries. Gauze. Gauze is for packing the wound, okay? Stopping the bleeding and shoving all of this into the hole that a bullet wound can create or any kind of deep laceration. Another blanket. Hypothermia, okay, is another killer, especially as it relates to trauma. So staying warm is important and preventing shock. Airway, okay, nasopharyngeals, great for maintaining an airway, especially if you have any issues or injuries to the jaw. Trauma shears, these things are awesome. I mean, they might as well be a primary knife. These things can cut pennies, that's how good they are. And then of course a 14 gauge catheter, needle. This is for chest decompressions. If you have any kind of thoracic injury that causes a lung to collapse, that lung or that hole, if it's a bullet hole in your chest, will start to take in either blood or air. And in order to equalize, you have to decompress the chest, and that's what this is for. Obviously, some training and education is required for some of this stuff. And then again, another light. You just can't have enough of these for signaling or just to look at what you need to do, or if you need to look down somebody's airway and see if there's an obstruction, okay? So that's rural, urban, and then medical. All of this, along with the go bag, are at violentnomad.com, or you can click right up there. So, putting all this in your vehicle, being prepared in case any kind of crisis happens, and being crisis ready is the overall goal while you're traveling from point A to point B. All right, stay safe out there.